everyone. Welcome into another episode of the Inside Voice Podcast. I am so glad that you are here. I feel like today we need to talk resolutions. Now I know what you're thinking. Ew. You're also thinking, Jess, it is October. Why in the world would we be talking about resolutions right now? Don't you know that there's like these really great things that we're going to experience before we get to the new year? Like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Oh, and then actually New Year's Eve. Like for so many people, myself included, we don't think about resolutions until January 1st. But what I've started to realize is that if you can start thinking about resolutions, if you can at least, let's not use the R word, because sometimes that can be like a little bit of a four-letter word for people. If you can start thinking about what your next year is going to look like right now, you're going to be more successful in executing and accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish next year. I think this is why businesses, like they close up shop like maybe 1 or 2 months before the year is done. And that's it, and then they really start thinking about what's going to be happening for the next year. I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like businesses do this. I feel like every quarter you're looking ahead to what's next. And when it comes to this final quarter, you're looking at 2026. You're looking at what that year is going to be, and you're already thinking about your bottom line. So maybe we can think like a business person. And if you are a business person and I'm wrong, well, correct me in the comments, please and thank you. But maybe we can just start getting a little bit ahead on 2026 right now. Now, I'm not saying that you need to stress yourself out, but last week we talked about gratitude. We talked about implementing that into our daily routine. I hope that you've been saying thank you out loud. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go listen to last week's episode. But really just coming at life with this idea of gratefulness and being thankful for things. This is that time of year that lends itself to that naturally. But, having that mindset, I think, really sets us up for success when it comes to setting goals and executing goals as well. So similar to that, in that same vein, how about we start getting a little more serious about what we're going to be doing in 2026? What if we start asking ourselves appropriate questions right now in order to help us once January 1st rolls around, or January 2nd? Or 5th or 16th or whenever you get serious about those resolutions. See, that's one of the problems. I looked at I was brainstorming and I was Googling and it seems like a lot of people struggle with resolutions in January for a few key reasons. One of them is it's January 1st. It's the first of the year. You just went through a hurricane of a holiday season, and suddenly you're just supposed to be like cold turkey, new person, new year, new me, with all these resolutions, all these goals, all these plans for your life, and somehow, some way you're going to execute them all perfectly. It just doesn't work that way, right? Not to mention, it's winter. Like we're in the dead of winter. Like seasonal affective disorder is a thing. You're depressed, maybe the family came in like a hurricane and they're gone and you're feeling a little sad because they're gone. Maybe you're a little happy, I'll be honest. Sometimes hosting can be a lot, but family's gone. You're back to just like you or just you and your family, and things are starting to go back to normal. The Christmas decorations are coming down. Like you're sad. And it's dark outside. And so it's dark in the morning, it's dark in the evening, it's cold. It's just not the time to be like, okay, I'm this new person now, because you still are holding on to this quote unquote holiday weight. And I don't mean physical weight. I mean like just the weight of everything that you just experienced, even if it was absolutely fantastic, wonderful, and magical, there's still a weight on you, and it's hard to shed that and be the new you, the new person who's just crushing it. Other reasons why January is kind of like the worst time for resolutions is that January is not your normal life. Sure, you may go back to the office eventually in January, but for the most part, you're probably still on some sort of winter break. Even if you are back at work, everybody's just in this weird kind of we're all just comfy, cozy. We'll get to it when we get to it. You spent all of December saying that's a next year problem. And now that the next year is here, you're saying that's a February problem. We'll worry about that in the spring. It's just not normal life. Think about what you did this week or last week. Think about what you're doing right now. You're probably in some sort of normal routine. You might be going to pick up the kiddos from school or take them to practice, or you might be headed into the office, taking a lunch break. You could be meal prepping for the week. Like, you have some sort of normal life routine. I put that in air quotes because, there are things that pop up. But for the most part, this is what your normal everyday life looks like, right? You might be buying some candy right now or thinking about costumes or where you're going to trick or treat with the kiddos. Like, yeah, that could be an added thing. But again, this is kind of normal. January, not so much. And another reason why January is tough for resolutions is because of this overemphasis on resolutions, right? I fall victim to this all the time, like when people start talking goals and like, let's do this, let's do that. We start getting motivated to like try new things and be better versions of ourselves. Like, I get super excited and I can like get a little too involved and invest a little too much and set too lofty of goals for myself. And I feel like a lot of people do that as well. Something about that January 1st, new year, new me, you start thinking about the impossible. And I'm not saying that you probably can't do it, or I'm not saying that you can't do it, but there's a good chance you might not, okay? If we can just be honest with ourselves. So setting too lofty of goals for yourself with ridiculously high expectations, that is something that tends to happen in January that does not need to be happening. We can combat all of those things by thinking about and planning for resolutions here in October. It doesn't sound as sexy as like a January 1st start. It doesn't sound as exciting as, a new year, new me. There's probably not as many things on sale right now if you want to start buying things and preparing for those resolutions as there are in January. But still, I think planning now will keep you from too high of expectations for yourself. Those expectations are tough because the moment you slip up just a little bit, everything goes out the window. You're just done. Planning in October will help prevent that. You're not overwhelmed with those lofty goals. You're not exhausted from the holidays. You're not, in this weird routine that's not your actual routine. Again, setting a goal in October is going to help you really lock in when January comes around. So what should you be doing now in October? Am I saying that you need to go cold turkey and only eat kale and like chicken breast for the rest of the new year so that way you can stick to your nutrition plan in January? Absolutely not. This is a time of year that is meant to be enjoyed. You don't need to go crazy. Like, we can practice things in moderation, but lean into this time of year, okay? But just know that eventually you're going to have to put your game face on and start tackling the things that you want. So I came up with some questions that I'm not only going to ask you, but I'm also asking myself this time of year. And they're really simple. And I would ask myself this for any goal that I would set at any time of year. So this is something that you can reuse maybe at the start of every single month and definitely at the start of the new year. The first question that you're going to ask yourself is twofold, but I believe they go hand in hand, is what and why? What do you want to accomplish? And why do you want to accomplish it? And if I were you, I would stick with one thing right now. I believe in setting one resolution for yourself. You can have some like in the background, like, hey, I've got all these things that I want to do, but I'm going to start with this one and I'm going to get this one going. And then I'm going to let the other ones kind of habit stack on top of it. Like, I feel like that's a good way to do resolutions. We'll get to that as we get closer to the new year. But what do you want to do and why do you want to do it? Now, I need you to get a little specific here. Another reason why we're starting in October is because you don't have to have it completely figured out immediately. You've got time. If you're trying to set resolutions for yourself in January, it's like when the spotlight's on you and a microphone is put in front of your face and you have to sing the national anthem and you're like, no, I know the words. I know what I'm supposed to say here, but I just can't remember what order they're in, or even if like I know what the actual words are. You know what I mean? You just panic. You can start brainstorming those resolutions right now. What do you want to accomplish? And maybe hone in and refine that list and get more specific as the time goes on before January 1st. I think that's a great strategy. Start off big, throw out any idea you want. You know, this is what brainstorming sessions are all about. There's no idea that's a bad idea. Just throw it out there, put it on a piece of paper, put it on a vision board. And then as time goes on, you can be like, okay, that's nuts. I'm not doing that. Or, I like that, but it's not entirely what I'm going for, so I'm going to refine that just a little bit, you know? What do you want to do? And then, why do you want to do it? I've shared this with you before. When it came to me getting into a steady, consistent workout routine that has now turned into just a fitness lifestyle for me, I had to change my mindset of why I was doing it in the first place. And the number one reason that everybody wants to, quote unquote, get in shape is because they want to look good. They want to lose weight. And for me, I had to change that. And I believe that changing your mindset from I got to lose weight, I got to hit a certain number on the scale, to I really just want to see how healthy I can get, is a much better mindset for you. That's going to be more sustainable in the long run, because the moment you don't hit that number on the scale, or the moment that you don't feel or see the results that you're looking for, again, you're gonna give up. But if the idea is, I just want to push myself, I just want to feel like an athlete again, I just want to feel strong, I want to have more energy, like that changes everything. So that might actually be your goal, you know? Think about what you want to do and why you want to do it, and let your why be bigger than you. You know, pushing yourself to be stronger when it comes to a fitness routine is awesome. And I think that's a great mindset to have. Maybe being around for your kiddos more often is a good, strategy, a good mindset to have. Maybe having more energy throughout the day is good for you. I was actually thinking about resolutions for myself in 2026. And one of the things that I want to do is read more. Not super specific. I think I need to get more specific of like, how many books do you want to read? What kind of books do you want to read? That would make more sense. But for now, as I refine and time goes on, my goal is to read more pages in books in 2026. And there's a couple of reasons why. My why is that I really enjoy it. And I just don't do it enough. I can get lost in a book like nobody's business, if it's a good one. But I love it. It's good for your brain, obviously. It's also beneficial for my job as a broadcaster. I mean, I'm reading a lot of scripts, whether it's commercials or, pulling copy points for endorsements that I'm doing, even just prepping for a show and writing stuff down and being able to read quickly as I'm thinking and processing in my mind how I'm going to talk about this as I'm talking about it. So being able to read well is great. It's also something that helps me speak better. Somebody asked me this. It was a YouTuber, and he said, what do you do when you're just jumbling your words all the time? You can't put a sentence together. And I said, honestly, I go read. When you read, you pick up on, syntax, diction, which is just, sentence structure and word choice. Like when you see word in print and you read it, it's like it resets your brain where it's like, okay, I remember how to put sentences together. This is great. So going back to our questions that we're asking, little detour there. What do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? So for me in next year, I want to read more. Why do I want to read more? There's so many benefits for me individually and professionally as well. And there's just, I enjoy it and it's something that I want to do. For you, it might be something else. Like we talked about the fitness thing. It might be that, and you're looking for more energy. You're looking to clear your head. Maybe fitness for you can be or a workout routine can be something that's almost like therapy. I do believe that physical activity is great for your mental health. That could be one of your whys of why you want to do this resolution. So what do you want to do? Why you want to do it? The next question that we're going to ask, and it's not twofold, it's just a straightforward answer or a question. What is it going to take to accomplish this? So we did the what and the why. This is more of like a how. How do you plan on making this goal stick? How do you plan on making this resolution stick? Okay. Having an idea of where you're headed and maybe even measure points as you go through this process is incredibly valuable. So remember that as you, once again, are in the brainstorming phase of your resolutions right now, start jotting down things that would accomplish the goal that you've set for yourself. And this, again, is a great time to think about those things. How does this new goal that I'm setting for myself actually fit into my lifestyle? Not my, I can do anything because it's a new year lifestyle, or my, it's the dead of winter and I'm so tired from the holidays and I can't imagine doing one more thing or putting one more thing on my plate. That person, setting up what this is going to look like now in your normal life, in your daily routine, as you're doing pickup and drop off with the kids, as you're doing your work responsibilities. It's beneficial because you're realistically going to be able to determine how this goal is going to fit into your life. And I think when it comes to time is what hurts us the most when it comes to accomplishing our goals. If we're not setting time for the things that we want to do, we won't do them. You've got to prioritize that. So going back to our two examples here, my goal to read more in 2026, well, I'm going to have to carve out time. Like we talked about, time is so incredibly important. Time is one of those things that hinders us in so many ways. And also, time is one of those things that we just straight up waste. So how can I naturally work in reading to my normal lifestyle right now? That could be, I could like turn off, the TV more often, that could be, well, I've got a recovery day in my workout routine on Thursdays, and I typically try to take like an Epsom salt bath to help my muscles. I could read then. I could read in the tub. There's some great ways that I can work reading into my schedule. How would a fitness routine fit into your schedule right now if that's your goal for next year? And it's a very common one every single January. We see it everywhere, right? It's like when the gyms are discounted. It's when all the fitness stuff is discounted. You go to TJ Maxx and there's like so many pairs of leggings. It's not even funny. So how would that fit into your routine right here and right now? What works for your schedule? What specifically do you want to do for your workout? Could it be you want to run more? So you sign up for 5Ks or something like that. Could it be that you want to get into weightlifting? Could it be that you want to do more classes? Or maybe, gosh, you used to swim back in the day. Maybe it's time you picked up a swim class at your local gym. How does this fit into what you're doing right now? And you'll be able to, again, marinate on it a little bit and refine it a little bit as you go through the next several weeks before we get to January 1st. The goal here is to figure out what your plan of action is going to be way before you ever start it, okay? This is about preparation, and now is a great time to prepare for what you're going to be doing in 2026. And the final question that you're going to ask yourself, we said what we're doing and why. That was our first question. Those are together. The next one is, how am I going to accomplish this? The third thing is, what is my action item? Again, a natural question that you would ask yourself when you set any goal for yourself. What is it and why? How is this going to happen? And what is the step that I'm going to take to move myself in the right direction? You can start thinking about those action steps right now. What is it going to take to make your goal happen? Again, we talked about how it's going to, fit into your schedule or how you're going to accomplish it, whether it's classes you're going to take or anything like that. But what is the action item that you're going to make right now? So to break this down and give you an example, again, going back to my reading thing for 2026, it would make sense for me to maybe get an app on my phone that tells me just how much time I'm spending on it. And also maybe it could be something that tells me how I'm spending my time on my phone, and that might change my behavior to open up more time for me to read. I could also maybe set some limits for myself when it comes to watching television. I can stream shows like nobody's business. Maybe I tell myself I don't have to watch every single episode of Real Housewives of every single franchise. Maybe I just pick a few. But an action item is something that is measurable, something that maybe you can even do now to help yourself in the future. So going back to the example that I put on you with fitness, since it is a common resolution for New Year's, an action item for you right now is find a gym. There's so many. Which one is going to work for you? You know, I think about what's around me right now. There's Planet Fitness, there's Lifetime Fitness, there's F45, there's CrossFit gyms, there's a really cool boot camp that I've got family members that do. There's a lot of things to choose from. So figuring out what works for you is going to be really beneficial. What is something that you're going to stick with? And an action item that you can take right now is to go try one of those classes, or just go observe a class, not in a creepy way, but maybe walk through the gym. You know, maybe you do go to Planet Fitness and you walk around and you're like, oh, wow, okay, I see what they have. I see what excites me. I see other people here on a normal day. And it's not so intimidating the day that you walk in on January 1st because you've already been there. You've already been in the environment. You know what to expect. Maybe a little more crowded January 1st, and that's okay. But, you know, that action item could be for you to find a gym and maybe even start it if you wanted to. You know, I think that's totally fine. Like, let's say you do sign up for a boot camp, or you do get a membership and you start going and you're horribly inconsistent. It's okay right now because, again, we're still in like that exploratory brainstorming season. It's not that hard start of January 1st where you feel like you have to be perfect. Another action item that you could take is setting up a doctor's appointment. You know, if it's been a long time since you've done fitness, maybe you need to get a physical before you do that. Maybe you need to rehab an old injury to make sure you don't get injured again. You know, making sure that you are in a state of health that would help you in that fitness routine is very beneficial. Now, it might be a little difficult to get in with a doctor. I know there's times for me, if you don't schedule like a while in advance, you're going to be in trouble. This would also be a great time for you to schedule that, maybe even for January. You know, maybe you're thinking January will be my time to go to the doctor, check under the hood, and then it's game on. And maybe you work with your doctor on what would be an appropriate fitness routine or workout program for you based on your health. Again, just action items that you can either set on the calendar for a future date, or action items that you can start to take now that are going to benefit you in the future. Like, I could totally start limiting my screen time now. I could start monitoring how much I'm on my phone and start to open up those moments of like, hey, yeah, actually, I do have some time to read more often, you know, and maybe I trial run it and I'm like, okay, well, let's try 30 minutes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that. Maybe not Friday night. I'm going out with my friends. But again, you're in your normal everyday life right now. You're engaged in your normal routine. So it would be easier for you to figure out what's going to work for you now than in the new year and in, you know, the first week of January, when everybody under the sun is trying to figure out what they're doing and they're exploring and they're experimenting and they're crowding up all the places that you want to be. But also that first week of the year, that can be very difficult and an uphill battle for you to start those resolutions and set those goals for yourself. I use the R word again. It's natural. But again, this is not to take you away from the fun that you can have over the next several weeks. I want you to engage. I want you to make memories with your friends and your loved ones and your kiddos, like absolutely. But again, thinking about these things and playing around with different ideas and maybe putting some stuff in motion, maybe putting some things on the calendar, it's going to make it so much easier for you to quote unquote rip the Band-Aid off January 1st. It'll be less jarring for you because you'll be like, man, I've actually been thinking about this, and actually I think I've set up a good plan for myself. Then you can just dive right in, and from then on out, it's just pivoting. It's just understanding, okay, that didn't work out the way that I planned, but it's not the end of the world because I tried this and I tried that and I've got more intel to work with. Oftentimes I think that we get to January 1st and we just immediately think like, oh, we're going to have it all together. Ain't going to happen. So helping yourself out right now is going to be beneficial. And like we talked about last week, having gratitude at the forefront of your mind as you go through this is going to be your secret weapon. So be thankful that you have this time. Be thankful that you do have a new year to look forward to. And how exciting to look forward to a new year that is like maybe a little curated, maybe a little mapped out. Like you understand where you're going and you've got a better idea of how you're going to do what you want to do. To me, that's more exciting. To me, that I don't know, I like having something to look forward to. I also like being prepared for things mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically as well. So just get to thinking. I'll run through those questions for you and I'll put them in the show notes as well. But what and why is the first question you're going to ask. What do you want to do next year? Why do you want to do it? And try to make your why bigger than you. 2, what is it going to take? Like, how are you actually going to accomplish this goal? And then 3, really think about just one action item that you can take now in the next couple of weeks or, in January that is really going to set you up for success as you move through the new year and accomplish this goal. Because 2026, I feel it right now, is not going to be the year where everything falls apart. 2026 is not going to be the year where once again, you're thinking, I'm just going to be setting these resolutions again in 2027. I want you to be able to do it. Okay. So try this out, over the next several weeks, over the next several months, get with some friends and do it with them too. It might be fun for you guys to throw ideas off of one another. I know when my friends and I do that, my goal-oriented friends, they always make me think of something that I didn't think of before. I mentioned earlier, the concept of habit stacking. Did not think about that until I had a conversation with a friend months ago about wanting to wash my face more often and do my morning skincare. Not wash my face more often. That sounds terrible. I do wash my face, but morning skincare routine goes out the window for me sometimes. And she was like, well, what can you do? What can you stack that on with your morning routine that would help you? We'll dive into habit stacking one of these days. Actually, I think maybe that could be a good topic for next week. We shall see. But for now, do this on your own, if you want to. Get with some friends, get with some people that you trust, that know you and understand you and know, your weaknesses and know what your tendencies are. It's great to have those friends and family members that are like a mirror. That are supportive and encouraging, but also realistic. Get with those people and go through these questions as well. And if you want to share what you're thinking about for the next year already, of course, I would love to hear about that. You can always email me at insidevoicepodcast@gmail.com. You can hit me up on social media as well, Miss Radio Jess, MISS Radio Jess. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for what you're going to come up with. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because you've got time to refine before January 1st rolls around. So who knew we'd be talking about resolutions in October, but I think this could be a thing. I'll see you next week.